Quentin Tarantino is being sued by the production company Miramax over his Pulp Fiction NFT plans. Yes, basically, so you understand, Quentin Tarantino decided to make some NFTs. He's been getting pitched on this for some amount of time. I saw online in an interview, somebody was explaining NFTs to him, and he kind of thought it was interesting. So he took 7 pages of the Pulp Fiction script and was going to make an NFT out of 7 pages that were left out, scenes that are not in the movie. What a clever, great idea. Now, the only problem is Miramax owns Pulp Fiction, and the way these contracts tend to work, having seen them up close when I worked at Sony Music or other media companies, you buy a piece of IP, intellectual property, like a movie or a song or an album or a piece of art or a comic book character or a comic book or a book. And in that contract, it says, we have the right to develop this in the future, in perpetuity, in all mediums, known and unknown in the future. In other words, if new mediums come out, we get to exploit this IP, and that's included in the price we paid you for it. So I'm assuming, I don't know this, that his contract, when they bought Pulp Fiction, they bought all rights to it, including sequels and this other stuff, which is why sometimes you'll see a director say, I have nothing to do with the Exorcist sequel. I have nothing to do with the Jaws sequels beyond number 2, whatever. I don't even know. Spielberg probably wasn't involved in even number 2. So the sequel rights is obviously a big thing. And then there's what's called derivative rights, things made like merchandise, and they're outlined in contracts, and you can negotiate that I get to keep the merchandise. In fact, George Lucas did that famously with Star Wars. That's why he became so rich. It was because he used his money to pay for the creation of the Star Wars movies, but kept the merchandise rights, et cetera, et cetera. He wound up obviously selling all of that IP to Disney. And now Disney, if they want to sell NFTs, I don't think Lucas gets to sell his NFTs. However, this is untested law because there are a couple of issues here. Well, these are things Quentin Tarantino wrote, but did not sell, right? These were not sold as part of Pulp Fiction. They didn't buy the original script. If they did buy the original script, they certainly didn't buy the notes or pages around it. But they do own the title Pulp Fiction. So then you would make the argument, well, you're trafficking in our IP and using our IP to sell these things that are adjacent to it. Now, if he just took the 7 pages from the script and he sold them at an auction, I don't think that Miramax would care. But I think Miramax is owned by Disney. I believe somebody can fact check me on that. Therefore, Disney probably wants to put their foot down on this and say, wait, we got to stop this before Stan Lee's estate or, somebody who drew Iron Man starts going in their drawers and says, listen, I got 100 copies of sketches I did of Iron Man. I'm going to start selling them. Okay, so the Walt Disney Company owned Miramax from 93 to 2010. It got sold to a couple different holding companies, and now it's owned by Viacom CBS, according to Disney.fandom.com. Now, if you owned a copy of a comic book, if I owned a comic book and I cut each of the pages and I made, 60 pages of this graphic novel and I framed them and I sold them page by page, am I allowed to do that? Yes, I am. I bought that comic book. I chopped it up. But now if I make another work out of like a digital work, am I allowed to make a new story of it? Am I allowed to cut them up and make a montage and then play that into a film? Of course not, right? So these laws, when they hit new technologies, always get tested. It's not really a big deal. This happened with DVDs and CDs and streaming famously. And generally there's a negotiation if people feel like they get in the raw end of the stick because you want somebody to maybe participate. So the right way to do this, and what you'll eventually see here is the director, Quentin Tarantino, will then go on to Miramax and they would cut a deal where Quentin would say, listen, I have this archive of all of this interesting stuff. I want an NFT. Do you have an preferred NFT platform? They're like, yeah, we do it with this company, or we started our own NFT platform. Great. So Quentin Tarantino's collection, Ridley Scott's collection of Blade Runner and Gladiator stuff in partnership with Disney would then sell them, right? So that's how this stuff tends to work out. And so according to the Wall Street Journal, Bart Williams, who is a partner at the law firm of Prosper Rose, I think is how you pronounce it, on behalf of Miramax stated, quote, it was profoundly disappointing to learn of this deliberate, premeditated, short-term money grab by the Tarantino team to unilaterally circumvent Miramax's rights to Pulp Fiction through the illicit development, promotion, and distribution of NFTs. So that's a pretty over-the-top statement. I don't know why they would be so aggressive about this. They, I'm assuming, went to Quentin Tarantino and said, like, hey, let's work something out first. But Tarantino probably told them to pound salt because maybe he doesn't agree with them, or maybe he's got some past friction with them, and this is part of an overall negotiation. Remember, we saw something similar with none other than Dave Chappelle and the Chappelle Show, and he was like, hey, don't watch the Chappelle Show. They're screwing me out of money. And then I guess Comedy Central and Chappelle figured out a way to bury their beef, which is good because then Chappelle gets to work on this IP and support it in the future. In fact, when Howard Stern left terrestrial radio, part of him leaving, and I think staying for an extra year or something, was when he negotiated his further contracts, he said, I want to own my tapes. I want all of my tapes for history to be owned by me, my masters, basically, not these other Westwood One or whoever he worked for previously. I'm not sure. And he actually owns his archive now. And I think with his deal with Sirius, he owns a company that then gives them the show, but he still retains his IP on all that. So as you move up the stack, you can then reacquire your IP and use your current partnership as bait for that. So what Tarantino should do here is, you should go to Miramax and say, listen, I want to have some ownership in my archive or something like that. Is there some deal we could cut here? But, there's really no reason for the movie studios to do that. So, he's only going to do one more of these. I don't see it as a money grab. I see it as an experiment, and maybe they should collaborate on it. If you're trying to nail an important project before the end of the year, you might need some extra help. I know I do. Well, look no further than Fiverr Business. Fiverr Business puts a world of expert freelancers at your fingertips so you can get any project across the finish line and be really proud of your work. It is really hard to hire full-time people right now. Plus, Fiverr has everything you need to seamlessly integrate your new team members into your workflow. We love Fiverr here at Launch. We hired a bunch of researchers, right? So we were able to scale up very quickly. They went out and they got us leads. And I didn't have to take my key employees off of investing in companies or producing the podcast. They just took the research and they started on second or third base. Fiverr just works. So stop wasting time searching for talent that may never arrive. Just leave it to Fiverr Business. They have a team of dedicated business success managers that will help match you with the best talent for your team. But man, if you get that business success manager, they're going to handhold you. So no more endless guessing, no more interviews. You can also save your favorite freelancers for future projects, which is kind of cool. So find the freelancers you need and give your next project the boost that it needs to give you a strong finish. Right now, you can sign up for Fiverr Business absolutely free for the first year. Get 1 free year and save 10% on your purchase of Fiverr Business with the promo code JASON. That's right. Go to fiverr.com/business and don't forget the promo code JASON, JASON. That's fiverr.com/business. Remember, there's 2 R's in Fiverr. fiverr.com/business. Use the promo code JASON.